F1 Nation. This will be Season 6, Episode 46 of the Outlap F1 podcast. It's our 2024 Qatar GP preview show, and you've got Andy and I'm along with Cody tonight, and Cody's cat is having fun trying to find the mouse cursor on his end. But other than that, how you doing, sir? First of all, before we do that, happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the U.S. We're recording this on Thanksgiving Eve. We may not be able to get the episode out because I have some commitments I have to do tomorrow morning in terms of meal prep for our family gathering. But other than that, I hope to get this out as soon as we can. But Cody, how does this find you on a hopefully short and quick work week for us?
Yep, for me, work week is done, which is really, really nice. Next week's going to be a little shorter week for me too, which I'm looking forward to. So we're getting that time of the year where getting all the time off, go do some fun stuff. As far as the cats go, you guys see them from time to time if you're watching the video, but I regularly have a little fluffy audience here. So but it's all good, and looking forward to the Qatar Grand Prix. I'm happy that at least we still got one championship that is up for grabs, because otherwise it might feel a little muted at this point as far as what we're expecting to see out of it. But yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Well, there is plenty to play for this weekend, and we will get into all of that in just a little bit. So if you have found our show, welcome along, as David Croft likes to say. You can find us, as always, on Twitter, X, whatever that platform is called. That's where we put a lot of our stuff out, but we are there. Instagram, Discord, Reddit, and, of course, here on YouTube. At Outlap F1 Podcast is the handle for all of that. If you enjoy what you're seeing and you like what you're hearing, if you want to do as the kids do and smash that subscribe button or leave us a like, we would be most appreciative of that. And if you're on your favorite podcasting app and you're just enjoying the audio portion of our musings here, if you want to leave us a 5-star review, all that will do is help us come up a little bit better, a little bit more quickly in search results related to F1 related content. And we would also be grateful if you'd like to do that for us. If you have a comment on anything, you can always email the show. Chat now at outlapf1 takes you there. Thank you so much to the people who do continue to support the show, including Dean Warwick, Yuri Dolchester, Paul Weaver, Quentin Warden, Kevin Kelly, Regan Stanzik, Timothy Brown, and of course, Jonathan Scott. If you'd like to become a member of what we call the hashtag Outlap F1 Nation, if you want to leave us $1, $5, it's our anchor page. It's going to be in our show notes. But that, like I said, all that does is go into, we reinvest it all back into the show. We either buy some new equipment or try some new stuff out, or we, do whatever we can to try to stay relevant. So that's what we're trying to do there. Last thing, as this is now officially the holiday season, Christmas, as you know, is coming, and you can get a deal that we are happy to extend to you. You can get 20% off and free shipping from the good folks at Manscaped. With our code OUTLAP. That's OUTLAP. All you have to do is put that in right before you check out and take advantage of the great offer that we are always proud to bring to you. All right, as we get geared up and ready to go for the Qatar GP, a couple of big, rather large news stories. One really big one, and one that was just kind of affected the calendar, but it was very, very well received. Let's put it that way. I got a lot of likes when I passed this story along, because Formula One today has announced that the Italian Grand Prix will remain on the calendar until 2031, inclusive as part of a new 6-year extension to the existing agreement, which ran through 2025. The new deal follows significant updates to the Autodromo Nazionale Monza ahead of this year's 2024 Grand Prix, where 335,000 fans across the weekend flocked to the track to see Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari take the checkered flag. Next year's race will take place from September 5th through the 7th. Cody, so it looks like the Temple of Speed is safe on the calendar, certainly for the long term. It looks like 2031. That's a nice extension of the deal. Thoughts on the extension?
Didn't think it was going to go anywhere. The Tifosi make that race extremely popular. Calendar wouldn't feel right without it, especially, with the recent Charles Leclerc win. That's got everyone's spirits high in Italy for the Monza race. And even though, the track is kind of a unique track on the calendar in that it's very high speed, a lot of long straights. Really challenge the newer cars the way that it used to challenge older cars, but it's still a very fun track. You get to see a little different configuration with a low downforce. It's just a fun one to see. We've had a lot of great moments there over the years. One of my favorite races in recent memory was when Daniel Ricciardo finally got a win with McLaren at Monza after Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton took each other out of the race. That one was fantastic. Glad that they're going back. I wouldn't be surprised if they extend it far beyond that once it starts getting to like 2030. And who knows, maybe someday I'll make it out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite circuits, even though usually the race can be sometimes one of the shortest, especially if there's no safety car or funny business or anything like that. Sometimes it goes an hour 10 and whoops, if you blinked, you missed it. But in recent times, I thought it has given a lot more better racing than some of its other tracks that are, of similar ilk on the calendar. It is a very unique setup. It also provides some unique opportunities for teams that aren't necessarily always at the front. The case in point is that 2021 McLaren thing. You want to talk about watching me be nervous, crazy nervous. I don't think I shook more than that. I could not wait for that thing to get over with. And then when Danny Rick crossed the line, it was, if you wanted to see what a volcano looks like when it explodes, you could have seen what I did. And I know I woke up all the neighbors and I didn't care. I just remember running around the living room, very, very happy, jumping up and down for about 5 good minutes. And it was one of those just magic moments. And Italy does that. Vettel winning in 2007 out of nowhere in a dominant fashion in a Toro Rosso that, that still to this day is one of their 2 ever wins. And then, Pierre Gasly does it again here in Monza. So, again, it's just great to see when other teams get a shot at it if they nail the setup right. I think going into 2026, it's going to be fascinating, Regs, to see what engines do in this aero package and how that's all going to work and how that's all going to look. So, yeah, it's an iconic circuit. It's great. The fans are great. The place gets packed every year. The only thing I'm ever got upset about is why they had to cut down all those trees, but that they did. But they had some issues that caused them to have to do that. But if anything, it actually has probably made some of the sight lines a little bit better around the track. So good for them. Good that they put money into the track. This was always historically one of the circuits that used to negotiate in public against Bernie Ecclestone. So it's glad to see that, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We got the deal signed. We're good to go. Like it. All right. And the other story, if you have been under some sort of a Formula One rock, you might not have known about this because it's been everywhere. And here's our little snippet on the story. It is now official. As we brought to you during the Las Vegas GP weekend, it was all but signed. Now it has been signed. General Motors, it is official, will be the 11th team on the grid starting in 2026. A very positively worded statement reads kind of as follows. Formula One announced today that it has reached an agreement in principle with General Motors to support bringing GM Cadillac as the 11th team to the Formula One grid in 2026. Formula One has maintained a dialogue with General Motors and its partners at TWG Global regarding the viability of an entry following the commercial assessment and decision made by Formula One in January of 2024. Over the course of the year, they have achieved operational milestones and have made clear their commitment to brand the 11th team GM Cadillac, interesting, and that GM will enter as an engine supplier at a later time. Formula One is therefore pleased to move forward with this application process and will provide further updates in due course. Now, if you are of the opinion that why did they just kicked Andretti and all that to the curb? This was Michael Andretti following the announcement, tweeted or put on X the following. The Cadillac F1 team is made up of a strong group of people that have worked tirelessly to build an American Works team. I'm very proud of the hard work they have put in and congratulate all involved on this momentous next step. I will be cheering for you. So I guess it meets with Michael Andretti's blessing. Apparently, part of this deal means Mario Andretti is going to be on the GM Cadillac F1 board of directors as that moves on. So there is still going to be an Andretti influence, if not necessarily a naming rights thing. It was not made official who the power unit supplier is going to be, but that has been widely reported that it is going to be Ferrari engines until 2028. And as of this point, we don't have any confirmation of who the drivers would be. Although, the obvious candidate, the first candidate that comes up, obviously, if you're going to pick up the Andretti bid, would be Colton Herta. But I do think he still has some super license issues that he still has to resolve, because I don't think those have been resolved yet. But anyway, we'll have to see where all that goes. We've got plenty of time, obviously, to get it together. But Cody, big thoughts on the official statement that we now have an 11th team.
I think it's fantastic. And we touched on it a little bit before about how it seems a little strange now that Formula One is all happy and on board with this. Now that Michael Andretti is not involved in name, at least, and is not at the top of the company anymore. It's been handed off to his associate. And the Liberty Media CEO is going to be stepping down as well. So now that these guys are out of the picture, it does seem a little strange that now everyone is on board with this happening. It makes you wonder how much petty crap was going on in the background behind closed doors. But either way, we're getting what we want. We're getting the 11th team on the grid. It is going to be an American team, which is awesome. And just because the Andretti name is not going to be on the car, it seems, and for that matter, and a lot of the announcements that have been made, Andretti has not really been mentioned at all. It should be known that I believe TWG is associated with Andretti, right? They're like
correct,
like the parent company of
yep.
Andretti, really. So It's not like Andretti and the folks that were working with him are not involved in this at all. They are still very much involved. They're probably going to be doing a lot of the on-track operating of the team, which is fantastic. Andretti is really getting what he wanted. He's just not the figurehead behind it anymore. And it seems like he's okay with that. I think he was willing to take what could be considered maybe a little blow to the pride in not having the Andretti name on there. But this project is still going forward. They are still involved. And I'm very excited for this. I really, really hope that we do get an American driver on the grid again, or at least a driver that has been involved in another motorsport category like IndyCar. Would be fantastic to see Colton Herta in there. And he's got another year to try to win the championship. If he wins the championship, he won't have super license issues anymore. So we'll just have to see how that goes for him next year. But I'm sure there's other candidates. We've seen Alex Palou and Pato O'Ward be involved in Formula One tests before. I'm sure they would be willing to throw their names in the ring, even though they're not currently driving for Andretti. It's going to be fun. It could go completely different too, and they could end up signing, veteran F1 drivers or junior Formula drivers that haven't had their chance yet. But it's going to be fantastic just having 2 extra seats on the grid, because we've had an issue for many, many years where there's lots of qualified talent to be on the grid that just isn't getting there because there isn't enough seats. We've seen several Formula 2 champions, that have not made it onto the Formula One grid just because there's not a spot. And having 2 extra cars on the grid will hopefully get a little bit more of that junior talent in to show their stuff.
Yeah, fully agree on pretty much just about everything you said right there. Yeah, I mean, I kind of ranted when we did our last review about kind of what I thought was some of the pettiness and why that ended up just proliferating it. But it seems clear, you look back on this, that once Andretti stepped down, whether he was kind of asked to do that by Dan Taurus or however that ended up working, once that got out of the way, it seemed like the dominoes all kind of started to fall. So, the best thing is to me, this is Andretti's guts. It's their effort to get it here. And now the GM Cadillac brand will take it into the next phase. It's fascinating to think of who they're going to try to get to drive for them. It's going to be, like you said, 2 extra seats. I've seen some wild speculation. I mean, the name that gets floated about, I don't know. I don't think that's happening as much as people might want it to. But I do think the Colton Herta angle makes sense. But you will have to kind of see kind of how they go. When Haas came in, I did not expect Roman Grosjean to leave at the time. Was a podium scoring car in Lotus and go over to Haas. So, might they try to pip somebody? We talked about, there's Valtteri Bottas out there. There's going to be other guys that are not necessarily in F1 that may come in, and maybe you want a mix of a young and an older driver. So, it's going to be interesting to see kind of, all that speculation. We can play all those games. We have all of 2025 to do that. But for now, I'm glad that this is done. I'm glad that they all got across the line, and let's see what happens in 2026.
My vote is Sebastian Vettel comes out of retirement.
Yeah, so you're in that camp.
Going way out there.
I've seen some other way out there names floated about too, but yeah, I think I don't think Seb wants to. Didn't I read somewhere where he was going to go off and do like some environmental work or something like that?
Sounds awesome to me.
I may be completely off my rocker, but I seem to think that he was going to do something. It wasn't anywhere near racing, and he would have to train like a son of a gun for almost a year to get back into racing shape, even at his age. So I got a funny feeling I don't think he wants to do that. I think he's got everything he wanted to out of F1. I love Seb as much as the next guy, but let's look for new names and let's see where this goes. But all right, so we are going to take a quick little break here. We're gonna stop here. We're going to re-rack. We'll come back. We'll drop our green flag. We'll do our Qatar track facts. We'll get you all ready and primed for the weekend with all the track stats. We'll talk about the weather. It's good. The good news, I'll just give you the headline. Nowhere near as hot as last year across the board. So I don't think we're going to have people fainting. Hopefully we don't have to have mandatory tire stops or any of that weirdness like we had last year. And it's a sprint weekend, oh, by the way. So we'll talk about that. We'll get primed for that. And then after that, we'll hop into what we think is going to happen over the course of the weekend with our predictions. Again, it's a sprint race, so we've got some extra stuff in there for that. We'll tell you where and when to find your F1 this weekend. So come on back, and we'll get into all of it.